what we fear about China is what Americans fear about China is often what the direction the country U.S. itself is traveling in. They're deeply uncomfortable with the fact that U.S. is being left behind in many ways. Like technologically, in infrastructure, in education. So this is why the idea of Chinese hegemony is frightening. This is where I think Mearsheimer is really good at diagnosing U.S. He knows everything about U.S. empire, how it behaves. So I always listen to Mearsheimer when he talk about U.S. empire. But he assumption is that China will behave exactly the same as the United States if China gains the power. This is where I disagree because China had thousands of years of history. They have a different ways of dealing with their neighbors, and United States is in a way, I criticize U.S. is exceptionalism. But
I don't
in
like
a
talking
way,
about the
U.S.
competition
is
so
quite
much, but I
exceptional
drive a
empire.
Xiaomi. We
We have
flew one
never
from
seen kind of this
Shanghai
global
to
standing
Chicago, and I've been
empire,
driving it for
U.S.
6 months now,
hegemony in
and
the
I
world
don't want to give
history.
it up.
The U.S. is not normal. The U.S. is not the normal. Like not everyone that will turn out like United States, because U.S. is exceptional in its own way. So people, I think, I just wish people in U.S. will focus more on building U.S. This is what China is doing. China is more interested in building for themselves, building infrastructure, building the high-speed rail networks. Even when they're building trade networks in global South countries, they understand that global connectivity will help China because China is the world's #1 trading power right now. So they want to trade. They're offering trade because trade is advantageous to China. Right now, U.S. is playing the role of spoiler. It's not trying, rather than trying to develop itself, it's trying to blow up everyone else. So right now, like the Ukraine war basically serves the purpose as cannibalizing U.S. European allies. So all the German industries are getting cut off on the cheap Russian gas supply. Now they're being forced to go along on sanctions and tariffs on China. So German industries are now decamping. They're now being outsourced to United States because U.S. at least still have cheap energy, have cheap oil and gas. So U.S. whole plan now is creating chaos in Europe, in Middle East. So all the money from the moneyed people over there, they have no choice but to park it in U.S. Treasury, U.S. stock market, U.S. real estate, and then U.S. appeared this oasis of calm. and so this is the U.S. strategy at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, you had somebody on your channel comment. Mearsheimer's entire thought process is that the world is full of dicks, so we need to be the biggest dicks. That kind of nails it. But yeah, much to your point, I do think that China probably looks at what the U.S. has done over the last 30 years and thinks, wow, they fought 7 wars, well, pretty much 9 now if you include Ukraine and Gaza. And they spent trillions of dollars. They have men, at record numbers blowing their brains out. Their life expectancy is decreasing. Their men's life expectancy is decreasing. They're having less and less kids. I think China kind of looks at that and says, we don't want to do that. Why would we want to do that when, we have a very, very large population that has issues? But like, we're starting to fix these issues. If you listen to Breakthrough News at all, they do a show called The China Report, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And their overall like cancer mortality is dropping like rapidly. And I don't think it's quite on par with the US, but it's getting there pretty quick. So, like I said, I think China looks at a lot of what the US has done over the last 30 years and thinks, we could do this so much better. And like, we don't have to kill literal millions of people to do it.
Well, China life expectancy already surpassed United States in 2020. And the thing is, China actually have a lot of internal problems. It's a full-time job managing 1.4 billion people in a country, and it has its hands full to develop China. Like China will always be priority of China. They're trying to develop China and making sure its citizens have a more prosperous life. That's their top part. I mean, that should have been top priority of the United States government to make sure Americans live more prosperous life. But unfortunately, they're more interested in lining their own pocket. And like we're like U.S. is becoming more like there's an idea that U.S. is becoming more like Latin America, where you have this
Mm,
oligarch the sitting on top who don't really care about all the other plebs who they don't even see it as like their
yeah.
people, and they just try to squeeze as much profit out of them. I think unfortunately that's where we're headed, and I mean good thing is Americans in general are recognizing the problem, right? I mean, this is why they first voted Obama and then they voted Trump. But I think it would take a lot more to really flush out the system.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So, I think that's about all I wanted to ask you about today, Carl. I really, really enjoyed this talk. It was very, very informative, as was the last one. So, if anybody didn't catch that show, last time you were on, we talked a little bit about BRICS, a lot about Tiananmen Square. That was really, really fun chat. And then today was very enlightening, as I kind of expected it would be. So, Carl, feel free to plug yourself where everybody can find you and support you to my audience, and we'll close her out.
I am on YouTube. My channel is just my name, Carl Za. And I'm a prolific shit poster on Twitter. So my handle is just /Carl Za on X. And I also run a podcast on Patreon. If you go to Patreon and search for Silk and Steel podcast, or just search for Silk, it should be the first podcast that show up. What I'm more focused on, I've been focused on everything China, history, politics, culture. But I'm more focusing on history right now on my Patreon podcast. I'm doing a chronological retelling of Chinese history from the very beginning. Now I'm at like 500 BC, so I still have like
Jeez.
2,500 years to go. So yeah, if that's your thing, check me out on Patreon and subscribe, and check me out on YouTube and Twitter. And thank you again, Kyle, for inviting me. I can talk about China all day. Like I can geek on this forever.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely do a third show sometime, because I just, like I said, I really, really enjoy talking to you, because this stuff is so fascinating to me, especially as an American, because like we hear so much about China, and I hate to say 100% of it's bullshit, but about 100% of it is absolute bullshit. So, it's always enlightening to talk to you. But yeah, I think we'll close her out there, Carl. Let's definitely do another one sometime. If you don't got anything else, that's all.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Until next time, take care, everyone.